Good morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Good morning.
Good morning. Cold, wintry day, but we're warm of heart, so we'll be fine. Many people talk about the Buffalo area in regards to their snow and cold and things like that, and I'm sure they'll be talking a lot about it and on TV during the football game as Josh Allen is chucking around the ball and a few bits of snow. But when people talk about Buffalo, I just say, well, we're prepared. It isn't a big deal. It's 81 inches of snow. Hey, whatever. It's gone in a couple of days. We're just a hardy lot here, and I'm proud of that about Buffalo. Well, that's what I tell them. Tell them we're hardy. And decide to delay for time for our Toastmaster who has just arrived. So Dave is here. Start off the meeting first with a little inspiration. Is Margot online? Are we missing Margot? There is no Margot. Oh, okay. Let's see. I have a little thing on my book over here. I'll be right back. Okay, it is a prayer. So let's see. We thank you for everyone gathered here now. Come fill our lives with your love, fill our conversations with your grace and truth, and fill this meeting with your presence. We ask this for your glory and praise. Amen. If everybody could rise for the pledge to the flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you want to make a brief announcement to please go online for the Christmas party, and you could register for the roles. I kind of run the Christmas/holiday party. It's sort of like a normal meeting and try to run it like a theme so that you could do the normal jobs if you desire. You could do other things. So there's a little more loosey-goosey than our normal meetings. Certainly people are going to bring some food and goodies, which we would appreciate. And that is going to definitely have it as a holiday theme. And wear Christmas garb or your holiday garb, whatever it might be, and to the meeting or online to support. For our table topics master, people in the room we have Steve Smith, we have Nancy Ferry, Mark Crane, Jackie Kenny, Sylvia Baptiste, Dave Licata, and Marty Johnston. And online, I didn't miss anybody, did I, Nancy? Oh, and Len Thornton, thank you. Yes, Len is off to the side. And online, David Jones, Eric, Carol, Phil, Beth, Les, Katie, Mike Licata. Not sure if I missed anybody else. Mark Campos. Mark Campos is online, so that's hopefully helpful for our Toastmaster. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our Toastmaster of the day, Dave Licata. Round of applause, please.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Those in the room and those on Zoom. My theme this morning is a year in review. But I didn't go to the United Press International or Reuters. I'm not really worried about the big news events in 2022. So we will start off before you deliver your job, your role this morning. We will start off by sharing with the group some good news, some outstanding news that happened to you in 2022. So I can kick that off. After a 10 years of trying to get to the Mid-Atlantic Air Museum's World War II weekend, because for 10 years, something else would come up that weekend and we couldn't go. If you're interested, it's always the first week in June, the first weekend in June, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I finally got there. So that was a triumph that I stayed with something and achieved my goal. So that's what I want. I want a little vignette about an outstanding moment that you enjoyed in 2022. Jackie, I saw you up at the board. You already put the word of the day on the board, but if you could come up and share it with us, that'd be grand. We're both towering over the crowd.
The word of the day is nostalgia, which is a longing for the past. And our Toastmaster of the day is the zenith of nostalgia. And I don't have something wonderful to share, but I finally have accepted the fact that I'm not going to get a pony.
Oh, no. Gee, Jackie, it's so sad when dreams die. I'm the zenith, which beats the hell out of being the nadir, because the nadir is the opposite of that. And a reminder for everyone that's in the room and on Zoom, and who might see this on YouTube later, we're not afraid to have fun with words, right? Words are fun. So I threw the nadir bit in there. Nostalgia is huge. And to share a moment with you, they did an episode on Mad Men where the advertising agency was trying to come up with a name for the carousel projector from Kodak. And Don Draper, the anti-hero, rises in and gives this long speech about nostalgia. And it's from a Greek word. And the best part is that Greek word has its roots in pain. So it's the pain sometimes of missing the past. So that's pretty interesting. I see Nancy in the room. I forgot my mirror with the hole cut out. Nancy Ferry is going to be our grammarian and master.
Romper domper stomper do. I see. That's how it looks like on Zoom for sure. Today I will be grammarian and master. I will be looking for stupendous use of the English language, and we already started off with some great words, and I hope they're nostalgic. I will also be listening for ahs, ums, ers, pregnant pauses, and so's, and I will report when called on at the end of the meeting.
Mark Crane is just smiling because he caught me with my hand in my pocket, which I reprimanded him for last week. So we never apologize, Mark, but I sincerely regret that you caught me. Okay, we have an opening for Quizmaster, or we could let it go. That's one of the ideas that my son Michael has raised in private with me. So we'll let it go. Michael said to explain that he got up a little bit late, so he's zooming instead of rooming. All right. Hey, Steve. One of my favorite Toastmasters ever and general evaluator, Steve Smith.
Well, I don't have any stories to share,
Oh, come on.
and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's been a nice, even year. And guess what? Now we're gonna very shortly have a whole nother year to mess up in 2023. But today, all I have to mess up is I have the unenviable task of evaluating Dave Licata. Am I up to that? Yes. I will evaluate Dave, the meeting in general, and the evaluators when he calls upon me to do so. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Is Beth she's zooming?
She's zooming.
I
Hey,
am zooming.
oh, and you have your microphone on. That's a good step. Okay, Beth. We need a quote.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I actually have two quotes. One is more nostalgic than the other. Year's end is neither an end nor a beginning, but a going on, with all the wisdom that experience can instill in us, by Hal Borland. The other one, I think, is probably the epitome of the optimist from Anne Frank. Everyone has inside of him a piece of good news. The good news is that you don't know how great you can be, how much you can love, what you can accomplish, and what your potential is. Fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you so much, Beth. We always have to embroider some humor into our meetings here at AM Lockport. And here's our jester, and also a woman that has gone above and beyond to keep this hybrid thing going, keep the club going, and we certainly appreciate all her efforts in 2022. And I'm sure she has something positive to say about 2022, I hope.
Well, I was thinking about this earlier when you mentioned what happened to you or what you liked about 2022. And I guess it's a bittersweet thing. My son decided to get married in 23 and 22, not giving me any notice. But I got a trip out of Vegas to go. He's getting married in Vegas. So we got to go to Vegas and see what's going on there. So that I like that. That was pretty good. So for this role this morning, I decided to look on the internet. I Googled what good big things happened in 2022. And I know this is just not 2022, but climate change. Everybody was talking about climate change. So I found some jokes on climate change. Gas prices are all-time high in California. Something like almost $7 a gallon in Malibu. So gas is so high, the women in Beverly Hills can't afford to run over their cheating husbands with their Mercedes anymore. That's one. I only have three. They weren't too funny. They really weren't. The report on climate change said that humans are very likely to be making the planet warmer. To which Hillary Clinton said, "You can't blame me on this one." And the last one is a small ATM room has 2 air conditioners, 4 tube lights working 24 hours a day. And they're asking me not to print a receipt to save the environment. Thank you. Yep.
Ooh. Hey, Mark Campos is going to be our timer. But first, I want to thank him for his speech a couple of weeks ago about going back to the moon, and I got all excited all over again. I was like that 5th grade boy that was subscribing to Space Magazine, and that wasn't yesterday. Oh my Lord. But the good thing about that speech is that it's given me a major idea for the next time I have to speak. So I want to thank you for that. But hey, Mark, what kind of 2022? What was the highlight? Mark Campos.
Well, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. David, I think like any other year for me, 2022 had its share of ups and it had its share of downs. But thinking about something cool that I did or I experienced in 2022, touching on that speech, if you remember, I was saying a bucket list item of mine is to see a launch of, say, a big rocket. But in March, when I was down in Florida on vacation, I had the pleasure of witnessing a launch of a smaller rocket, one of the SpaceX Falcon 9s, as it launched Starlink satellites. And it was really cool because it was at 12:45 in the morning, lit up the night sky. And as awesome as it was to see, it's even more awesome what you hear and feel many seconds after you see it. So it's something everyone should experience at some point in time. But my job is
jealous.
I'm sorry?
I'm jealous.
Well, Mr. Toastmaster, my job as timer today is to keep everyone on the straight and narrow time-wise. As a reminder, speeches are typically 5 to 7 minutes unless you tell me otherwise. Evaluations 2 to 3 minutes, and table topics 1.5 to 2 minutes. There are buffers involved. I will change my background to red, yellow, or green as appropriate. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mark. About 1925 or so, Toastmasters was started by a gentleman named Ralph Smedley. And if Ralph had never lived, it wouldn't have mattered because David Jones would have started Toastmasters. I've never seen anybody so ready to go in my life. And he's going to lead us in table topics this morning, but first he's going to share something special about 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My 2022, obviously we did Toastmasters. We learned a lot and been through a lot with Toastmasters. And in fact, this morning's table topics is going to be a little change. I've seen it done at different clubs, and I'd like to try it here this morning. At 45 seconds, my screen is going to change. Hopefully you all can see the screen, perfect. And as I will ask you a question, and you'll start telling your story. And at 45 seconds, I'm going to put up a picture and try to incorporate that picture into your story. And everybody's going to get a different picture. And I'll show you an example. If Mark Campos happened to be a contestant, which he will not be, but if he was participating, I might ask him about riding his bike as a kid. And then I would pop up a picture, just a random picture, and ask him, what does that picture mean to you? I'm not going to ask him. He might incorporate this picture into his speech, and you guys get the hint of how it's going to work. And don't forget to use the word of the day, which is written here somewhere, nostalgia. And I'm going to start with Eric. I believe Eric is ready to go. Eric, you can see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so your question is, which will be a better chapter in your life, 2022 or 2023, and why?
Well, thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. I'm going to say I had a good run this year with 2022. There was, ups and downs and everything, but I just want to, go forward into 2023 because I think that I have some stuff lined up, which is going to be fantastic for the new year with, continuation with school, because I'm, really pushing forward to getting that bachelor's degree, and just, reaching out towards my, horizon of, going with that learning disability. And we have a sci-fi. All right, we're going to do a nostalgia here, because just by looking at this, we all can remember the Close Encounters of a Third Kind, and this is maybe one of those pictures. Okay, Dave, I like this. Anyway, what that means to me is because I love science fiction. But I'm with 2023 coming up, I think that we have a better shot of making good decisions, learning what we learned in 2022, and I am just hopeful for what's in store as far as what I'm going to be doing, and I'm looking forward to what is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. And I believe Nancy is in the room now. Is Nancy available? Perfect.
Oh, Nancy Rose, I don't see her in the room. Oh, my God. I'm sorry.
She hiding?
Good morning.
Good morning, Nancy. All
Not
right,
that-
your question is, which New Year's resolution have you kept and how have you kept it?
Oh. What New Year's resolution did I keep? Um, it's interesting. Last year I sat down and I only made one, and it was to join Toastmasters. Did I keep it? Well, if I was to reflect on my year of 2022, there's been a lot going on. Not only globally have I seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, but also personally. So there's a lot I had to push through. But I used a lot of rocks. They were my foundation, and I pushed through. But there's one thing that did suffer is Toastmasters. So it's interesting. I set another goal, and it's only one goal for 2023, and that's to complete Toastmasters and not throw out the baby with the bathwater. I don't think I had too much growth, but at least I showed up, and I'm going to try to continue that in 2023. The rest of the goals, I'm leaving consistent. I'm keeping my life the same, and I'm going to move forward and get back on my track with everything else I have planned. Nostalgia. When I go back to nostalgia with Toastmasters, I guess.
That's the word of the day.
I think that I would go back to when I first started in 2006, when I met you, Dave Licata. And it brings back a lot of memories to me. I met Jackie, and I met Mike Licata, and I remember that. And I remember a couple others, so I want to thank that. And I guess that's my goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nancy. And finally, we have, I believe, Mike Licata. Are you available? You were just mentioned.
Yes, I am. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Good morning. Good morning. Looks very festive in the background there. Your question is, what event in 2022 made you nervous or skeptical, but it turned out to be a really good event or decision on your part?
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you again, Mr. Table Topics Master. What event in 2022 happened that I unfortunately have a very cynical streak, so that question can be answered in a lot of different ways because I'm always very skeptical, and I tend to unfortunately look at the more negative side of a lot of different choices. But one of the things that I decided to do more internally is just say yes to more things and agree to things before I fully understand what I need to do in terms of being prepared and trying not to be grinchly when it comes to my decision-making process. So to look back in nostalgia in 2022, I decided to say yes to more things and just kind of embrace chaos and worry less, because worrying too much leads to too much stress and you might end up very, very grinchly. But I try to agree to more things and try to definitely get rid of my more cynical side. I think it's worked out this year. I think it's worked out for 2022. And I do know that going forward in trying to build upon the idea of agreeing to more without overthinking things is something that I want to definitely take into the new year. It is something I want to work on as a personality. And it is something, it's experiences that I can look back. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to experiences that I can look back fondly in many, many years with plenty of nostalgia. Mr. Tabletop Master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mike. And can we get a word master report, or is that what we call the word of the day person? Word master.
Here comes Jackie. Go slow.
Thank you. I heard the word twice from both Nancy and Mike Licata, but I didn't hear Eric use it at all. I guess he didn't get any coaching. Did he use it? Did anybody use it?
Does Eric want to offer?
No, no do-overs.
Oh. And can we get a timers report, Mike?
Yes, Mr. Table Topics Master. First of all, I really want to thank you for reminding me of Luis Castillo dropping that pop fly that turned a Met victory against the Yankees into a Met loss versus the Yankees. Certainly a game I have no nostalgia for at all. But timing wise, our three contestants all qualified, all without the buffer. We don't need no stinking buffer. Eric at 135, Nancy at 147, and Mike right on the button at 2 minutes. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mr. Timer, and back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you, Mark. Mark must have missed a bit where I said nostalgia was tied in with pain. And while you're filling out your ballots, I will regale you that on the same trip that first weekend in June, we went down to Asheville, North Carolina, to see my brother Sam, who's been in the Carolinas, I don't know, forever. I barely recognized him when I saw him. But we took a trip down that beautiful Blue Ridge Mountain Trail, not too deep, just far enough, to get to the souvenir shop. And my brother dragged me into an Italian restaurant in Carolina. Come on, folks. And he was used to it and he loved the place. And I said, oh yeah, it's great. But that's all I shared. So please vote for Eric, Nancy, or Mike. The people in the Zoom, they have an opportunity to vote as well. So that'll work out great. Oh, excuse me, Nancy and Mike Licata. Eric sadly forgot nostalgia. All righty. Oh, speaker number 1 is our dear friend Phil Russell. And his evaluator is Carol Ann Halstead. Carol, do you have anything to share about 2022? And then you can go on about what Phil's goals are for today. Carol Halstead.
Well, 2022 has been an interesting year, many ways. In July, at the beginning of July, I celebrated my 75th birthday. However, by the end of July, when my husband and I celebrated our 45th anniversary, I was in the hospital and I'd just been diagnosed with lymphoma. However, the end of the year will bring my final chemotherapy session, and my latest PET scan has shown I have no active disease at this time. So I'm very hopeful for 2022 or 2023 that will be a much better year. And evaluating Phil, which I've lost here. This is, he's actually going to be doing 3 projects at once. The purpose is for Phil to practice being aware of his thoughts and feelings, as well as the impact of his or her responses on others, And the purpose of the speech is for the member to share his or her experience completing the project. Do you have the title?
I wish I did. But I know Phil, I'm sure he'll share it with us.
Okay.
So.
I'm sorry, forgive me, did I miss the timing parameters?
Oh, actually, it's, there's two speeches. It's, it appears that one's 2 to 3 minutes, one's 5 to 7 minutes, but maybe Phil can actually clear that too.
It looks like Phil's giving me the hand signals that it's 5 to 7, so got it.
All right. Such a communicator, my mentor in Toastmastering. And he's already informed me that I will be the successor to his many social products when he is incapacitated. Phil and I serve the same function. Him in the class of 65, myself in the class of 67, of just making sure everybody knows what time and where the party is. So that's a chore I gladly take over. Without further ado, it's Phil Russell time. Phil.
Well, before I get started, I have to console Jackie. I had a great experience this past weekend. Went to the Hofbrau House, downtown Buffalo. I was quaffing down a few liters of dark German beer when along came Santa and his wife. Jackie, I too was disappointed in the 50s. I asked Santa, what happened? I asked for that pony back in 1953. Now, Santa, what happened? And he said, he really apologized. The problem was, he said, I think I got the wrong house. I said, but I saw my sister on one. I got a picture of it. Oh, what happened? And he says, I'm sorry. Those things happen. He has a lot of people to see, Jackie. I know he'd apologize to you when you see him next time. Now, one of the best things that happened to me, Dave mentioned Tennessee. I went to Tennessee back when I was in Vista. And I found John's. John's is the greatest bar, saloon I've ever been to in my entire life. John's is in Cookeville, Tennessee. It was the first bar there in a dry town because it was in the barrio or the ghetto, I should say, or if you wanted, whatever it was, and they had their own rules. And it was the most fun place we went to back in the 70s, and we went back there and it had not changed a bit. The only thing he changed, he said the booth fell apart, so he had to get tables. Same family since the 1940s. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, we don't have guests. The title of my speech is Focus on the Positive. This is what happened. I'm putting three things together. Remember the last two speeches? One was the challenge to invite new members. Just invite people to a Toastmasters meeting, either on Zoom or in person. That was the challenge. It's all part of my pathways. It's in innovative planning. And it's part of that where I challenge you as part of the first speech. Second, of level 3. Second was clone yourself, meaning replace yourself. If you're the president, get the next president ready. If you're educational VP, get the next person ready. Or if you're just a Toastmaster, bring them along. I see Marty Johnson is helping Mark Crane in his mentoring. That's what we do. I say clone yourself Toastmasters uses the term mentoring. Dave used it himself. And that's how you do it, how you clone yourself. Now, this third speech, ironically, I went back to put in that I finished level 3, my second speech elective. And I thought I saw 3. Oh, I have to do one more. So I looked it up and I found this one. Here it is. Oh, focus on the positive. This project takes at least 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks, you're just focusing on the positive every day. Do as much as you can. When a negative thing comes up, get back in at a positive. And what happens is you record that every day. I journal, and journaling is pretty interesting. I've tried that. It gets to be pretty cool. And so I am focusing, and then you journal it and you say, this is what happened. This is the change that happened on focusing. So this speech is not the finished product. This speech is a preliminary to what I'm doing. Then I said, oh, I did complete this. So let's go to level 4. Well, I saw 2 things that I've always wanted to do and accomplish. And I can do it in conjunction with this speech. How do I do that? Well, second one that I found, and this is under level 4, the beginning, and this is a mandatory one, is number 1 is to manage projects successfully. I have to develop a team, and I'm going to look through it through Toastmasters because it's going to be dealing with Toastmasters. And the third one, and there's 2 options here. Both of them are challenging. Both of them I wanted to do. One is write a compelling blog. I don't have any idea. I've been doing this journaling. My wife, for my birthday, got me Storyworth, which means I'm writing a book. It's pretty cool. It's fun. It brings up a lot of things nostalgic from way back in my past when I was thinking about my grandfather. And well, I told this story yesterday. I was very close with Grandpa Russell. He died, unfortunately. I was about 4. And they were doing the wake in the basement. Or not in the basement, not basement, in the living room. So I snuck down from my bedroom. They threw me in the bedroom and said, you stay up there. So I went down and I looked around the corner. What I see, Grandpa in the corner holding a beer, propped in this big box, didn't move. And all the other guys are sitting around, standing around, drinking beers. That's an Irish wake. Let me tell you, that's an Irish wake. And so it brought up these memories. And then what they did is they chased me. You get out of here. You're not supposed to be down here. Not old enough to drink, I guess. But in the old days, you know, if you were tall enough to put your fingers on the bar, put the money on the bar, you could get a drink. That's what my father told me anyways. So it brought up all these nostalgic things. And I'm also doing, the Storyworth is really cool because you're writing your history. And you could put it into a book eventually. Well, Toastmasters has been very influential since I've joined back in 1982. And because you never can get out of it. I went into Pathways, I found whole new projects. You're finding new projects. That's cool. When you're finding a new project and it's advancing you, you just want to take it on. And that's what happened to me. So I'm starting off the next 2 weeks. I'm writing down, I'm doing in my journaling, focus on the positive. You'd be amazed at all the positive things that happen to you when you put up in your brain positive thoughts. We always get those negative thoughts, but you can control those thoughts and those words by talking to yourself internally and just turn it off. You don't need that. Think of something negative, turn it to focus on the positive. And that's my job for the next 2 weeks. I'll be doing this, and it should be fun and focusing on it. It'll help me out with my 1, my journaling, 2, my Storyworth, and 3, with Toastmasters, and 4, more importantly, with life. I'll focus on one more thing. to finish up this whole thing, focusing on the positive. I had a great experience. I can still see. I have 20/20 vision after that operation. And if you ever get a detached retina, first thing you do, go to the emergency room and get a good retinologist to take care of you. I did it. I can see fine. I'm very cautious now with it, but I could see 20/20. So let's talk about the most important thing you should do after you go out and recruit somebody, and after you start cloning somebody. While you're doing it, focus on the positive. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. I'm moving right along. Oh, wrong sheet. Now we're talking now. I wish our next speaker, Les Robinson, was here. I would love to see how tall Les would be on top of this platform. That would be mind-boggling. Oh, crap. You had to bring it up now. Thank you. Did you catch that, Steve? Thank you. I'm brutal today. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. All right. Evaluator number 2. Is our little spark plug out there, Katie?
Sure, I'll go with that. Yes, yes, I am a little spark plug. I'll start with 2022 in review. What a great topic. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, for that. I now work for the American Red Cross. I think that's a highlight of this year. I am very pleased to be working with this organization and hope to for a long time. Now back to our speaker, Les Robinson. I'm so thrilled that he rejoined our club. Today we hear him speaking from Pathways, Motivational Strategies, already level 3. Fantastic. Mr. Timer, 5 to 7 minutes. And this is connect with your audience. So his objectives to connect with us. And that is challenging in this hybrid format. Do you have his title, Mr. Toastmaster? I do if you don't.
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Back to you.
Because Les was kind enough to send it to me. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. It's by our own Les Robinson, DTM, and it's called Building Need. Building Need, Les Robinson.
Thank you, Dave. How would you like to avoid losing your money, your retirement, and lifestyle to Medicaid and a nursing home? Raise your hand if you'd like to do that. How many of you like to say that your money, retirement, and lifestyle is protected 100% from a nursing home and Medicaid? I wrote a book that I personally used to avoid Medicaid in a nursing home event. My wife and I's money, retirement, lifestyle were totally protected. Now, here's the kicker of the whole deal is people, when they go see a retirement advisor, they do like a Monte Carlo where they run thousands of simulations. They show the retirement goal like this, like this. The husband and wife get in a car and say, wow, this is great. We're going to win. And they drive off and have lunch. Well, the thing is they don't talk about is the unexpected event is a Medicaid or nursing home event where you go up like here and crash down. Okay. So the people have the nostalgia of, wow, we're great, but actually there's an unforeseen event that can wipe out their entire life and lifestyle. Okay. Now, basically, I'm going to explain how a married couple with no plan for Medicaid and nursing home is a lose-lose event. And I'm going to tell you how you can take $1 million in 4 years. You can turn it into $500,000. Okay. So we're going to make a couple assumptions. You have $1 million, you have 5% return, you have income of $50,000 a year, and everything is good. So you go along and life is great. Then you have a long-term care event in your first year. Well, you pull the $50,000 out, you have a $60,000 long-term care event. Coming into year 2, you have $940,000. Well, you think, well, that's not bad. But you're pulling out the 50,000. So the first year you have a deficit of about 3,000 in your income. The long-term care event goes up to 70,000. And basically at the end of year 2, you're at about $867,000 going in. So on year 3, you have the 5%. You're 43,000 of income. You've lost the income of 6,650 from your principal. And you have a long-term care event of 165,000. Going into year 4, your principal is at 695,000. Basically, your portfolio is generating 35,000 worth of income, loss of 15. You're still pulling 50, and you have a long-term care event of $175,000. At the end of 4 years, you pass away. Your spouse ends up with $500,000. Now, your spouse is used to living on that $50,000, so they're going to pull the 50 out of the portfolio without a long-term care event. That portfolio is going to drop by about 25,000, and the following year it's going to drop by about another 30. So your portfolio is going down, and basically the downside is you don't take into account taxes, inflation, downturn market, which we have, and any unexpected costs, okay? And the other thing is the cost of no plan is you're going to impoverish your spouse. You can affect your children's and grandchildren's financial future. Can you afford this? Now, one thing is, do you want to keep more money? And everybody says yes. Now, here's a funny story, is over in Niagara Falls, Ontario, they built the Ferris wheel that goes round and round. And they had all the engineers in there and all the great people. And they said, what should we do? And they all looked at it. And the guy says, before I sign off, I'm going to have the guy come in. And he's going to say good or bad. And they all said, well, we've built these all over the world. There shouldn't be a problem. I want my guy to come in. He'll look at it. If he says it, gives it his thumbs up, we build, we come thumbs down. He walks in, he looks over all the stuff. About 2 minutes later, he thumbs down. He goes, yeah, the first one of the Ferris wheel will collapse in on itself. And all the engineers are like, what do you mean it will? Yeah, because it's off the Niagara Falls, the water is going to come over and put about 10 tons of ice on there, and it's going to crunch like you haven't seen it. And the engineers went back and they looked at it and they said, you're right. This is going to happen. So we can do some reinforcement. They then signed, and then the Ferris wheel went up. On a long-term care event, as part of this, if you'd like, I can do a complimentary 10-minute review, tell if you're good or bad, because I'm the guy. And basically how it works is it's a very simple review. And at the end of the review, it's 10 minutes. I'll say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you're great. You don't have to worry about it. Or Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you have a problem. And then they realize that. If you're interested in something like that, at the end of the evaluation, you can put your name, your spouse's name, print curler, cell phone number, and email. And basically what I will do is check the time at the end, and I will take your calendar and you'll get a calendar invite for the next 1 to 3 weeks. Very simple. After you sign up, if you don't want to do it, just cancel. If you can't make the time, reschedule. If you can't find it on the calendar, please call me. And it's very simple as 1, 2, 3. So basically what we're going to do is tell you if you're good or bad. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you, Les. Righty, let's get on with the agenda. Oh. Evaluating our third speech this morning is our very own president, Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Morning again, fellow Toastmasters. So for me, for the year in review, thinking back nostalgically, I feel like I've done a few trips, probably not surprising. I went to Atlantic City, I went to New York City recently, I went to St. Louis. Lovely trips. My favorite was the 2-week trip to Washington. Wow, what a great place that is. Definitely recommend that for sure. So those are the highlights for me. But back to Toastmasters. Today I have the honor of evaluating Mark Crane. The purpose of this project is to deliver a speech with awareness of your intentional, unintentional body language. So he wants to work on body language. 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Timer. And I may or may not be working with his mentor, Marty Johnston, in this speech, or may have, I don't know if he's going to come up or not. We're going to find out. Because the title says it's a second level in pathways, and effective body language is the project. But the title is Fostering and Enhancement of Speeches with mentor Marty Johnston. Please welcome Mark Crane.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and those of you in Zoom land. As a person that grew up in the era of Future Boy and watching a lot of sci-fi from the past, and a lot of the things that are happening today is very, very nostalgia for me. As a matter of fact, I've been accused of having one foot in the past most of the time. My brother, he's very thick-skinned. He's 10 months older than I am. We're Irish twins. As a matter of fact, the tax people, the IRS, they sent a letter to my parents the year I was born. My brother was, he was a New Year's baby for 1958. And it said, Stork brought Crane. And it was on the front page. He was in an incubator for a month. I guess he wasn't done yet. And he was a preemie, and I ended up being a preemie too. On the 2nd of November, the second son, 2nd November. And this is bizarre because my brother was on the firstborn. I was born on the 2nd, 10 months later. And my younger brother, Chrissy, he's not with us anymore, Chris Crane. He was born on the 3rd of September. And these things are, I don't think they're by chance in my life. And my brother, well, you know, I wear a lot of hats. I generally don't wear one indoors. But the thing is a lot of things have been happening since I had a life-changing event last year. I was at Mercy Hospital, and during that time, I was dead twice. And I was brought back to life twice. And I was in a coma for 5 weeks. My wife said, where were you? What happened to you? And her face was in my face. And she asked, the first thing she asked was, who am I? And I told her, I said, you're my girlfriend. And she went looked at the doctor, and I didn't even see anyone else in the room. And in her face, and she goes, he doesn't know me. He doesn't know me. And I said, you're my girlfriend and my wife. Of 37 years we've been together. So one thing I've learned is from the past, and being nostalgic as I am, I found out I really knew how to pick a wife. And I knew how to pick a person that could stay by me when the chips were down. And my older brother with the thick skin, he's still over in Germany. We watch his property here in the United States. And I said, you know, I see signs happening all around me. Really miracles that people, they don't see it. But it seems like when I run into something that's happening in the public, there's a lot of serendipity in my life right now. Why did I go here? Why am I meeting this person today? And it's bizarre because I was down in Medina, of all places, and I had to see a cup pack, and I was playing Santa. I got my Santa shirt on today with the Scouts, and I do that for the Scout Council. I come out, I play Santa, and I try to keep the baby in the world, knowing that he came for all of us. And I can't use his name anymore. There's backlash out there. People, I don't like your message, Santa. Really, it is a Christian holiday, isn't it? So I have to question people that question me and my purpose and my vision for being a missionary for the season. And I went down to Medina, and at this bookstore I've never been in, It's called the Author's Note. And there were 75 people in there the other night. I go, what's going on here? Are they giving something away? And I walked in, and the gift that I gave myself was by chance, happenstance. I happened to be in Medina in the middle of the night dressed as Santa Claus. And there was David Bellavia there, and he was signing his new book, which I bought. And he did put an inscription. And the number one thing, everybody was very, very nice about Santa showing up. I didn't want to steal anyone's thunder, but they let me jump the line. And I went up front, and Santa gave a sharp salute to Staff Sergeant Bellavia, who I had met before, but he didn't know that I played Santa. And he goes, I said, Sergeant Bellavia, I said, I'm a veteran. But you know what? I was a rep. That's a derogatory term, and I'm not going to let you know what that really means, but it's a rear echelon person that takes care of people in the front. The war makers, the men that go in and enter houses like he did. And he earned the Medal of Honor. He let me hold it. And Santa just broke down because this means so much. And I saw him over at the Palace Theater, and they should have had capacity crowd. There should have been 700 people there. And I don't know why. Why weren't the school children told to come and see this man and his message? Because he's down to earth. He's about as down to earth as you're going to find. And people say to me, well, you're in the military. A lot of people you know are rather violent. I said, yeah, they teach you violence, but the most peaceful people I've ever met, the most peaceful people I've ever seen in my lifetime were people who were trained to go off to war because they know the ultimate sacrifice they might have to have. And it's daunting that people would approach you. And even I've had people in our churches that do the accompaniment on the piano and the organ. And I've asked them, why aren't you playing patriotic songs today? This is a patriotic holiday, you know. And throughout the year, we have 4 or 5 that we should have that music with us while we're in church. Well, I'm not going to glorify war. These are teachers, music teachers. I said, really? The same thing is, we're going to do secular songs in school. We're not going to do anything that's joyous and religious. Well, I think we're giving the wrong message, and we're trying to suppress ourselves in the season when we shouldn't have to. And my job as Santa is to ground the kids. It's not about getting, it's about giving. It's about being with family and loved ones. And like being here, and thank you for letting me be a part of your group, is that in my heart, I'm only getting more friends. And this gets me out of the house. And thank you for having me. And Steve, I did bring this. It's about the poinsettia. This is for your loved one. We haven't seen her lately. I hope she's doing well. One of our traditions that didn't come from Batavia or from Germany in my home in Grafenbeer is the poinsettia. It came south of the border from Mexico. It was brought here by a little schooling. It was brought here by an ambassador to Mexico well over 100 years ago, and it's become a tradition. But that's right from Mexico. It's hard to believe it's a winter flower here. So I leave you with that, and have a joyous Christmas. Thank you, David.
Mark Campos, our intrepid timer. How did our speakers do?
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I like the sound of that intrepid timer. It's becoming cliche, but like the song says, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Phil came in at 6:54. He qualifies. Les at 5:32. He qualifies. Unfortunately, Mark ran long at 8:33. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. So that will give you 2 people to vote for, Les and Phil. Les and Phil. I need that filled up, but just a little less. I'm sorry. That's terrible, terrible, terrible. All right. The grand event of 2022 for myself was my trip to the Niagara Falls Air Force Base. I climbed into that vintage Warbird, the P-51 Mustang. If you saw the movie Empire of the Sun, the poor young man that was held captive by the Japanese, separated from his parents, stands there full of glee because the Americans are attacking the camp that he's being held in. He looks up, he goes, the P-51 Lightning, the Cadillac of the skies. I got to fly in one. And I will never forget that moment. I will never forget that moment when he hit the ignition switch and we were bathed in that exhaust, just like maybe, I don't know, John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, all my heroes from World War II, the greatest. So I had my greatest generation moment, and that was my highlight of 2022. Let's get on to the evaluations. This is the dirty little secret about Toastmasters. We tell people to join because we're going to help them overcome their fear of public speaking. But once they learn how to evaluate, their life changes and it makes everyone's life easier. The things that we learn from doing evaluations. Evaluator 1 is going to be Carol Ann Halstead. Carol.
I had the pleasure of evaluating Phil, who is one of our very experienced Toastmaster and speaker. And he always is very comfortable speaking to us on any of his subjects. He has good expressions, vocal variety, and some hand gestures. And I'm sure that he is of an age who found pathways very challenging, and he's doing a great job of challenging himself to get through a lot of the pathways. And the only thing I noticed on occasion, he will be looking away from the camera. Sometimes he was looking maybe at a paper, but I noticed that he does that at times. And he has a very difficult assignment when you think of having to focus on the positive, because so often the way the world is right now, negative thoughts get in, and having to keep track of your daily mood and trying to keep it positive is a challenge. And as I said, he always does very well. And the only thing I found at all is a little bit looking away from the camera, but always an excellent speech and very enjoyable. And he always tells a little story about his grandfather's funeral, and you could tell it was a very amusing time when he thinks back as a 4-year-old. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Carol. An internal combustion engine cannot run without spark plugs. And we have this wonderful platform called Toastmasters, AM Lockport in particular, where we have the opportunity to evaluate. So once again, AM Lockport's recently calibrated, cleaned, and ready to go spark plug 8-or.
Just call me Sparky. You don't know what to call me. Kate, Katie, Cat, I get it all. So I guess now my nickname might be Sparky. Don't start yet, Mr. Timer. That shouldn't count. Okay. Thank you, Les, for diving back in to Toastmasters, to AM Lockport, to Pathways. I admire your conviction and appreciate that you continue to listen to your evaluators. I can see that. I can watch and see that some of what you give is the same less, and some of what you're doing is what you've shown that you've grown. I love that. You were so prepared, organized. You emailed the Toastmaster and myself far in advance. I love that preparation. You were very approachable, even on Zoom, which is so challenging. You have a very strong and clear voice. Those are some of the tools in your toolbox. I think that you listened to your evaluators and you gave better physicality today. You presented in more of an upright chair, or maybe you were standing, but I think you were in a chair. And I would only recommend that that tablet that you're using go up even further, because what was happening is we're more like at an angle a bit, and we can kind of see up your face like this instead. But if you present and put your tablet onto a book or board games or something, so that you're then centered and straightforward. I'm not the best example of it. I'm trying to see who's really good at that on there on the screen today. But you're so much better than the lounger chair. I thought that you did a great job connecting to us with a topic that I didn't say in the beginning. Part of your objective was to bring an unfamiliar topic or an unfamiliar audience. And this can be challenging for many of us because we know you, many of us do, and you've been presenting about long-term care for a while. So this wasn't really a new topic, but it's new for many of us. So mission accomplished in that way. You made it clearer, except I would love to have you work on some things. I think it's not super clear. You've given some fantastic speeches about this topic when you connected with your personal background a bit more and the things that have happened to you that you don't want to happen to other people, and why you're much more passionate about this topic than you used to be in long-term care, even explaining what that is to someone who's unfamiliar without talking down to us. I never felt like you were talking down to us. You were definitely engaging. You were trying to use humor, but I think it was lost to someone like me who doesn't get the humor of the financial situation. So you're trying to be funny about it. But I think my challenge for you is to, whether you give this speech again or something similar, have it connect to us. Maybe even practice with us more. Give definitely a more solid conclusion, because you wrapped up, maybe because you saw the green light come on, but I felt like your intro and your conclusion could be better bookended to really pin home that message, and maybe just touch on your personal connection of what long-term care is, why it's so critical, and really something you're passionate about, which I love to hear. Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Sparky. Our, excuse me. Our third evaluator this morning is Dr. Gerald Stevens. In the spirit of Indiana Jones, he's going to both hand out his hat with a kudo or use his whip. Let's see what he's up to today. Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Thanks for that intro, Dave. That was awesome. Thank you, Mark, for presenting today 2 weeks in a row. I think that should be pointed out as a kudos to even start this evaluation. A lot of Toastmasters won't do that. They're like, I'm too busy. I got too much to do. And got this, it's the holidays, excuses abound. Mark stepped up and not only last week, but it was assigned this week and spoke as well. So we thank you for that. I think Mark is an amazing addition to this club. He's full of stories. He's had a lot of life experience. So he tried to share some of that with us today, which we appreciate. And things we could identify with. Family. I think it's important to do a speech where you're talking about family for sure, and different things that we can relate to because we have better buy-in. So I think that's very good as well. He used the metaphor, wears lots of hats. Then he had a hat on, so that was cool. Then he took the hat off. So I thought that was a nice prop. It's always good to mix a few props in there of interest. Not a lot of people do that. Some people just come in and kind of wing it. And I think it's better that you're prepared. So kudos for being prepared with that. Because it takes a little preparation with props for sure to pull it off. Your gestures, and that's one of his goals, to do more gestures, were relatively natural. You did have some in there that I saw for sure, the salute that you did to the Medal of Honor recipient. I may borrow this book of yours if you're willing. I love that kind of thing. We can definitely talk on the side about that some more. And he used the book as well as a prop. So I want to point that out. So he did use props well, I thought, and the gestures were good. So your goal accomplished. So good job there. But as a Toastmaster, we have to give you some improvement. Yes, he did go a little long in regards to time, and that does take practice. So practicing the speech a little more could help with that. Your connections between the different parts of your stories, that could be improved as well. Sometimes it's better just to take, and when I first started Toastmasters, I would do that too. I'd have all these different stories, got so much to tell, right? It's like, I want to tell all of this story, I want to tell about that. And it's difficult for me to just say, okay, I have to pick one of these things to talk about and then expand on that. I bet you could do a whole speech, maybe even 2 or 3 speeches on Medal of Honor recipients, truthfully, and maybe even this one Medal of Honor recipient. So think about that. Just try to take one thing and expand it. And that way that will just make the flow more natural. Okay. Eye contact with the room is very good. A little more on Zoom, certainly. I'm working on that myself. I tend to look more around the room, but that does take practice. In your conclusion, you did have a kind of a call to action, but just ramp that up a little more. And I think that would have been awesome. Thank you, Mark, for presenting today. And back to our Toastmaster, Dave.
Thank you very much. We're so grateful that Mark Campos is our timer today. He does have a busy schedule ahead. He is going to be at Times Square, New York City, in charge of that ball drop out of respect to his incredible capacity to be such an excellent timer. How did our evaluators do, Mr. Campos?
Well, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters, there's one place you will never catch me on New Year's Eve, and that's Times Square. That is one thing I listened to the old man about. Stay the hell away from Times Square on New Year's Eve. But anyway, I am happy to report that all 3 of our evaluators qualified this morning. Carol Ann at 232. Evaluator number 2, Sparky, I was a little worried about you, but you brought it in for a landing at 317, a little help from the buffer, and Dr. Stevens needed a little help from the buffer at 308. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. We have a full slate. Please vote. Reflecting back on the highlight of my year, the flight in the P-51 Mustang. The pilot, after he did a few maneuvers, spotted 3 beautiful barns in our beautiful eastern Niagara County. They were sparkling in the sun. And he said to me via intercom, he said, Dave, we're going to dive bomb the barns. So he put the nose down and we're screaming towards the earth. And my only thought was, I'm the kid that wouldn't ride the Comet at Crystal Beach. And then to be a bit dramatic. He said, "Bombs away." And I said, "Roger." And he nosed up. They got a terrific view of Lake Ontario and the beautiful communities along Lake Ontario. See how I'm segueing into Wilson here, huh? Our general evaluator. He just shows up, joins the club. We learn more about him each time. We enjoy the fact that he's in the club for as long as he was and is. But I want to tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, in the room and in the Zoom, go to one of his star shows. He brings everything he learned at Toastmasters together, and his enthusiasm at a star show is amazing. And I can't wait for the better weather so I can go back again. Please welcome General Evaluator Steve Smith.
I really need this. Thank you, Dave. Thanks for the plug for the star shows. I know I only do them in summertime, which is a shame because there's many beautiful things to look at. Mars is high and bright right now. It just reached what we call opposition, or as close to us as it's going to get. That only happens every 2.5 years. But most people don't like the cold. I tell them it's a state of mind. I don't mind, so it doesn't matter. I just tell people I don't get cold because I don't believe in it. Fortunately, that doesn't work for everybody. Jill, of course, thinks I'm nuts. Let's get to the job at hand. Dave did an excellent job as Toastmaster. I love the way he got us all involved by asking us all to share something that happened in the last year. Just sorry I couldn't come up with anything. I thought of a few things, and I may get to that depending on how long-winded I am here. Our evaluators. 2 of them had a very tough job in evaluating well-established Toastmasters, but all of them did a great job at evaluating the speech, walking that fine line between praising, giving some room to improve. To me, the heart of an evaluation is to encourage the speaker to listen to what you have to say and say, yeah, I want to get back up there and I want to work on this. And I've heard some real hatchet evaluations, or why would this person even want to get up and talk if they're going to take that kind of abuse? I can't see doing that. Now, another thing about that, it's not just me as the evaluator and you as the speaker. Everybody else out here is listening to this. And they're thinking, I'm not going to get up there and let them do that kind of hatchet job on me. So it's not just for the benefit of the evaluator and the speaker, it's to help everybody in the room, because they listen to what's going on and say, yeah, I could do that. That might help me. So everybody gets something from evaluation. So it behooves us to give it our best effort. And I think our 3 evaluators did that today. They all found ways for the speakers to improve. They were all encouraging. They all pointed out what the speakers have done well. And I was very impressed by all 3 of them, as I was impressed by the bottomless knowledge of Dave Licata of things that go on. Do you wish me to call reports? All of them?
You have the agenda handy and
Of course I do.
you are more than welcome.
Okay. I did have one little story to relate here, which I suppose you might call a moment of revelation. I was up on the roof the other day putting up some Christmas lights. And I get to the top of the ladder and I step on the roof. And it must have been black ice on the shaker because my foot went right out from under me. Now I'm laying there on the edge of the roof, ladder's sort of dangling off the edge here. And I'm thinking, oh my, or something like that. And I'm slipping and sliding around. And no matter what I did, I was like right at the edge of the roof and I'm going, this could end very badly. Okay, hang on. This isn't working. Everything, I keep working slower. So I just flatten right out on the roof, get as much of my body on that roof as possible to keep me from sliding around. I actually had my foot over the edge on the gutter to try to stabilize me. Now, while I'm doing this, the ladder, of course, goes flying. And I'm sitting there, it's only like 8 foot to the ground, but that's 8 foot, I don't feel like falling. So I inched my way up. There's like a peak. I inched my way up so I get my hand over that peak. Now I'm stable. Now I inch my way up further to the center of that area where it was relatively stable, so I can get control. Now I'm sitting there, "Ew, that was close." So the first thing I do is get on the phone because Jill's in the house. And I said, could you come out and set the ladder up for me, dear? And she said, well, I heard you up on the roof. I said, and you didn't think to come out and check on me when you heard all that? "Yeah, thank you." But in that moment, that was, one really feels a sense of their own mortality when you're in a position like that. And I don't know who to thank for the fact that I kept my calm and was able to inch my way out of trouble. But it was, it makes you stop and think. And I did. And I'm very glad I didn't fall off the roof, or I probably wouldn't be here today. Or at least not upright anyway. But that was my one big story about what would happen. It happened to me that I found altering. So anyway, let's get on with our reports. All the reports. Let's go with our Master Grammarian, Nancy Ferry, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Maybe you ought to chat with Les about some long-term care insurance possibilities. Just saying. I did not mention something that, anything about my year in review. And this year has been a renewal of relationship with my son and my grandchildren. And last week I went to visit my grandchildren, and that was exciting, meeting the youngest one for the first time. Let's see, that was an that I can add to my list of ums. I had 24, now I have 25, make it a nice 1/4 of a, never mind. All right, some of the things that I heard that kind of twitched in my ear. Now, David Jones, I'm not sure if you were using a play on words with the word picture, because you said picture and then you showed a picture of a picture. So I will give you credit for play on words. I heard 7 times. I only heard 2 so's. Maybe there were more. Stuff, one of those words that we could probably find something better to use. Had to and hadda. I heard those 2. Unless you used my wife and I's insurance, I would suggest something like my wife and I have an insurance plan. A lot of things should be plural, a lot of things are. And he goes instead of he said. Seems to be very popular in our culture. We say that a lot. He goes, she goes. Goes where? I'm not sure. Some of the stupendous words or use of the language. Zenith and nadir being opposites. That was great. Unenviable task. Epitome of optimist, embroider humor, cynical streak, regalia, grinchy as a noun. I love it. Reference to Kate's spark plug personality, serendipity, happenstance, intrepid timer, and brought it in for a landing. And that is my landing, and I will turn it back over to Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. Now, let's hear from our word master, Jackie Kenny. How did the word of the day do?
Thank you, sir. I'm kind of disappointed at the word of the day usage today. It was used by 7 people in addition to our contestants in table topics. And I was thinking that everyone would feel nostalgic today. So let's remember that word and use it during the day. This is a nostalgic time of year. Thank you.
Mr. General Evaluator.
Yes.
Mr. General Evaluator. Here, out in Zoom land.
Yes.
I have 3 questions if you would like a quick quiz.
Certainly. Go for it.
Are we ready? Listen up. The Beverly Hills Housewives can no longer do this because of climate change.
They can't run over their cheating.
Run over their husbands.
Yeah.
Ladies, and
What did David Jones do to help the table topic participants with his use of the camera?
throw up a
Added a picture.
Yes. And the third one, where did Dave Licata and I both go this year? What state?
intoxication.
Tennessee.
New York.
That's it.
Great answer.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Good. Okay, now I'll turn it back over to our president, Dr. Gerald Stevens, to close out the meeting. Clerk?
Excellent meeting, fellow Toastmasters. We do have a few winners today. It's very exciting. Our best table topics is Nancy. Nancy Rose. Okay, you're gonna take it? No? Okay. You can give it back to us later if you don't want it. It's fine. Big donation. Kate, you are the best evaluator. Good job. And our best speaker, we will give this to him virtually, is Phil Russell. Good job, Phil. And as a reminder, next week, we will have the Christmas party. So sign up and come to the meeting and come prepared with some Christmas stories, Christmas nostalgia, Christmas trivia. I'll be doing different things. There'll be a few presentations, which will be exciting, of maybe a few items. So I'm going to leave that as a kind of a mystery. Nancy Ferry's looking at me like, what the hell is he talking about? I am changing it up. There'll be something different. I do something different every year. And don't play poker like me. Don't do that. Any other announcements? Kate, do you have any announcements about the contest, possibly? But you're muted, Kate, sorry.
Sorry about that. I don't have any announcements, but we need to have that soon. Len, I'm not sure if you or Jill, if Jill is there, have looked at the schedule, but we need to complete it before January 20th. So we'll have it probably the second Thursday in January. I imagine I'll be contest master unless I hear otherwise from someone who's interested or needs to complete it for one of their pathways. So I guess I'll look at the schedule of January and see. Looking ahead, that puts us at January 12th. So the January 12th meeting should be the contest. Could be the 19th because that's snaking us in with one day to spare, but let's shoot for the 12th. I think that makes the most sense so that that's done. And it will be international and tall tales. So be thinking about speech you'd like to give for a contest. That's everybody who's in the room, everybody who's on Zoom, because you're all eligible.
Yes, and there's time. Maybe during the holidays, you have a beverage of some kind, and you take out your pen, sit at your desk or in your study, and just write away. And have a contest entry for us. So that should be fun. Thank you, Kate. I look forward to seeing you all at the Christmas meeting. Any other announcements?
Excuse me,
Marty has something, yes.
Did she say the 12th?
The 12th, she did say yes.
Okay.
Yes, so just to clarify, she did say the 12th. So she will organize that and certainly look for judges and different role players as well. And I do have to do split club, which I completely forgot. The best speaker, where is it's way over there. Nobody wants to grab that for me. Steve's gonna grab the split club for me. Our best speaker obviously is not in the room. So normally the best speaker would pick it up. Maybe we'll just have Steve draw it since he has the bucket there and just read it out to me. We'll see who the winner is today.
We got like $5, we only got 2 tickets.
Somebody donated more than $1.
You have to rip the other single tickets off the wall. Oh, wait a minute.
We are not prepared. I'm sorry.
Did someone put in $1 for Margot's?
They're getting the other tickets. Apparently there's a few more in there that were not ripped off. And we put in the bucket. Shortly, we were scrambling ferociously to let people go.
Gerald, you should do a sing and dance while you're waiting.
That, I like my singing. I do okay. I need a few more beverages, I would say. And then I think stellar karaoke, actually, with a few more.
Ooh.
Nobody else will think that, but that's what I will think.
Everybody.
Dave Licata owes us $1. Okay, so, all right, Steve, mix it up and grab one in there. Yeah, I think he's good for it. Okay. I guess I will grab it. Here it comes. Yeah, that's right. I did not enter, so I have no interest. The winner is an even 600.
Oh, cool. Here.
3, 4, 5, 600. No.
Okay, I am repaying my $1. Now I owe Jackie $1.
We have a winner. It's Margot. Margot is our 600 winner, we'll say. So Margot has won again. She keeps winning this. Is anybody gonna see Margot? Dave?
No, Mikey goes to the winery. I just go to the fall.
Okay, so they put one in there for her. So yeah, because she pays for it the whole year. at once. So we will give that to Mike in the future and to deliver to Margot. You all have a great day.
Hey, Gerald, are you still on?
I still am, yes.
Are we gonna do an officer meeting next week, or do you want to wait until
The
January?
third Wednesday, so yes, we'll do it. I'll send an agenda out. There was a message that went around. I think Tom forgot which week it was, so that's fine.
Okay,
Unless people do not want to do one, just message me if you absolutely do not want to do one.
all right.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Gerald. And thanks for the Christmas card.
Oh, you're welcome.
Joe Beaver here, filling for him on Monday.